Well, hey there. How you doing? I know, it's me again. My name's Paul, it's Plan Z, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today we're talking through a bit more of my signal chain and how I use compressors. And if you've been subscribing and following this, I hope you're well, I hope your weekend's going well. In fact, yesterday's little video on parametric EQ seemed to be really popular. In fact, I think 10 new subscribers overnight. Couldn't believe it when I woke up this morning. And if you've been following these, you know what that means to me and what this mission is all about. So thank you very much for tuning in and supporting. So just cutting to the chase now, we're going to be diving into the settings the same way as we did yesterday, where we go to a screenshot and I talk you through how I set up a couple of different signal chains with this. We're going to be looking at two patches. You might find I talk quickly through that because I'm trying to keep the length of these videos down. So if I am talking too quickly when I get to the second half of this video, just give me a little message, give me a no, and I'll slow it down for the next one. I'm just trying to cram a lot of information into a short space of time, which for me is tricky because if you've been following this, I can waffle. Yeah, for England. But what we're going to be doing today is addressing compressors. Now, most of us know how to use compressors. Newbies are frightened of compressors. They can be quite intimidating things. If you don't know what the buttons and knobs do, you can end up with a mess if you're not careful. And this hopefully will help shed some light on compressors and how to use them within your modeler. Now, I'm using a Boss GT-1000, but you can use this trick with any modeler. And the idea with what I'm going to be showing you today is using between 1, 2 and 3 compressors. I've got one compressor coming from the HXEFFECTS that sits at the front of the chain. I'll explain that in the video later on. And then I use 2 other compressors to show you 2 different ways of getting your guitar tone right. Now, sometimes if our sound isn't warm enough, we want more low end, what we tend to do is crank in the bottom end, either using an EQ or using the bass on the amp. Now, this sometimes is giving too many frequencies and you get a lot of fighting going on. There's a cleaner way of doing it. Now, yesterday, if you've seen the video that went before this video, dealing with EQs in modelers, what you'll remember is that I've taken out those 2 nasty frequencies that I didn't like. And what this is allowing me to do is to compress those low end frequencies to bring the warmth back into my sound and punch in the bottom end. We're using a clean natural amp today. In fact, the same signal chain as yesterday. I'm going to be building that signal chain with you over these videos, so you can see the different things you can do. If you're new, this will be beneficial. If you already know this stuff, you'll be like, Paul, what the fuck? I already know. It's not new news. But there's a lot of newbies coming to this, and as I found out overnight, a lot of messages saying, yeah, thanks for making this less of a mystery for me. So hopefully this session is going to do that for you on compressors. And if it doesn't and you got any questions, get in touch. You know where I am on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. Just send me a DM and I can help you with what you're doing, because your tone will be different to my tone. And but you should find that if you apply these techniques to your tone and what is pleasing to your ear, you should get to where you want to get to a lot quicker with a lot less head scratching, hopefully. So yeah, I'll speak to you in a little bit. See you on the other side. Take care. Have a great weekend. Well, hey there. Right, so we're going to dive into some parallel compressions. I've got a couple of tips to show you, as I've probably already mentioned. I can't remember what I said in the first part. So let me just adjust that lighting slightly. Right, so this is the same patch from yesterday, albeit I've renamed it and I've changed a couple of things. I'll talk you through what I've changed in a minute, but I'll just talk you through the chain. It's the same as yesterday. That EQ we did yesterday with the parametric EQ, that's moved to the front of the chain now. It doesn't affect what's going on with my tone. Cross-checked it, all sounded the same. Now, if I go through, we've got the same natural amp. We've got a noise gate after that natural amp. You'll see I've put a divide in here. We've got the HXEFFECTS there, and that's where that compressor comes in at the beginning from the HXEFFECTS. There's the looper there, obviously, but we're not using that. Towards the end here, I've got a little side chain with a reverb in it, but the reverb you're going to hear in this is a room reverb from the HXEFFECTS. You hear that? That is on every patch I set up, and it's always the same. But here, in the master section, I just wanted to show you this quickly so you understand what we're working with. Sorry, notice this is moving around. Sorry, I'm going to try to stay focused. I use the original amp sim. I'm using the dynamic 421 mic. We've got short distance, and I'm actually going to just turn that down to 1 centimeter. I didn't check that yesterday. And I've got the mic level up at 100 and the direct mix at 0. Okay, so if we go now back to the front of the chain, we're now going to focus on compression. So parallel compression. What these companies do, they've brought out these pedals with compression on them now, or compressor pedals that you buy separately, have got a dry mix within them. So what you'll see here, I'm using the X Comp. I'm using a sustain at 40. We've got 90 on the attack, because I want the attack of the guitar to cut through, but I don't want to squash it. I want the compressor to kick in just milliseconds afterwards. So, and then there I've got my level at 50, which felt like a good level. It will give me a bump. And I've checked that against the dB meter. It comes out the same. Here I've got the tone just left flat. I've got the ratio at 2 to 1, which is where I usually start. I don't usually go much higher than that. Now, if we play the sound from yesterday, that's what we got yesterday. And if I engage the compressor, you'll feel a bump. As I say, on the dB meter, it's the same. It's just kicking through more punch. If I bring in some of the dry mix, this technically is like a parallel compression going on within this compression block. It's bringing in some of your dry level, and I usually come to about 30%. Let's just turn that down. Quite like that, it's nice, but with other elements going on in your mix. And this gives me some particularly dynamics when I'm playing single notes. Okay, don't judge me on my playing. Right. So, my first compression trick for you is to, rather than doing it like this, I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing it now. I'm going to take that direct mix off, I'm going to move my compressor into this divide, and so without compression on, because the divide isn't engaged, that's what I get, that's our original signal. I'm now going to engage that divide. Let me just change this quickly. And if I don't make an adjustment to the filter, what you get is the same signal going into both left and right channels, and it just sounds awful. Just kills everything. You've got lots of fighting of frequencies going on there. So what you want to do is you want to use this filter, this one here, and in A channel, what I do is I put a high pass filter on, and that high pass filter is set to kick in at 1K. So everything above 1K is going into the A channel, and if I click across, I've got the B channel set up as a low pass filter, the opposite of what's going on in A. So everything below 1K is going into the compressor. So if I wanted my guitar sound uncompressed, but I wanted to fatten up my bottom end, remembering that yesterday I took out those nasty frequencies, if I was to compress those frequencies, if I hadn't have taken them out, this would sound like shit. But we've taken that out, we've cleaned up the low end, and now my low end should punch through and be consistent. And it warms up your tone. If your tone's a bit cold and spiky, this will warm your tone. Don't start rolling loads of bass in on your amp or in your EQs. The more frequencies you put in there, the more trouble you're getting. Remember, subtractive is the key here. What I've done is I've subtracted frequencies yesterday, and now I'm boosting my low end so it sounds warmer. Okay, so, oh, sorry for knocking the camera there. What I'm going to do now is come out of there and move down to this patch where I've done what I think is a dual parallel compressor. So with parallel compression, usually one channel isn't compressed and the other is. And in the previous one, I compressed the low end where you could compress both, but you're best just using the single pedal for that. going to go into the patch so you can see what's going on. Now what I've done, this looks like a stereo patch, but it's not. It's a mono patch. I've got both of these amps are set the same, both the compressors are set the same, and both the noise gates are set the same. And when they come out here, they're coming out in stereo, but it sounds like a mono. Okay. What's important here is I've done the same thing with the divide. I've got a high pass filter going to A, I've got a low pass filter going to B. And now what you're going to hear is you're going to hear that low end, and you're going to hear my high end is also compressed. And this will really cut through your mix. Okay, so hopefully you heard a difference there. I'm going to try keeping this video short. Barely touching that, and it's poking through. It's lovely. So if you had big fat bass and drums going on, this would be a way of getting you to cut through the mix. As I say, my dB meter is reading the same, but I'm punching through a lot more. And just to show you, there's your natural amp, all the same settings as before. We've got a compressor, and the compressors are set the same. I do have some dry signal coming through on these at 30%. Let's just come out of there and we'll just do a little cross check. I made changes there. So this is uncompressed. This is with a compressor just on it in a regular way. So hang on, I just want to save that. This is what most of us would do if we put a compressor there. It sounds good, but look at how this cuts through. There's more energy in the high end. Let's go back. So that compressor, it sounds nice, but this one punches more. Because I'm compressing the same signal at two different sets of frequencies. Hopefully that is clear. I get into waffles if I'm not careful. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.